Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning from my side. My name is Hans Stoisser. I'm sorry we are 5 minutes late in starting this live stream. Bernhard Weber, we are still waiting for welcome first to this meeting. Doing business in Africa, part 1, connecting with startups. So we are concentrating today on startups. My name is again Hans Stoisser. I'm an entrepreneur and management consulting working with African countries already for quite some time. And I'm also a co-founder of NextAfrica. We bring together purpose-driven organizations from Europe and Africa to collaborate and co-create. And we are one of the 2 organizers of this webinar. And now Bernhard has joined us already. And please, Bernhard, your words.
Well, I also speaking. I thought I was on stage. However, it's our first experience with this kind of webinar, so please excuse our technical problems. Good morning, a warm welcome to all of you. I'm very happy that so many followed our invitation to this very first corporate web multilog. We had close to 100 registrations. The room is filling up. Wonderful. And I hope you hear me all well, and that technical problems will be kept within reasonable limits for the next hour and a half. My name is Bernhard Weber. Hans introduced me. I'm the managing director of ETSAP, an independent non-profit organization in the field of business and development, founded and based here in Austria. We're active in developing countries, implement projects, set up structures for training and education, foster competitiveness and better participation in supply chains, catalyze inclusive business approaches, always in partnership and cooperation with strong local partners. We're active in Austria via the corporate platform. With the corporate platform initiated some 15 years ago, ETSAP wants to serve a threefold mission. First, we intend to improve the framework for business and development here in Austria. That means to deepen the understanding among the various actors of development cooperation that companies are the engine of global development, and to strengthen the focus on business-oriented development cooperation here in Austria, to foster the role of development cooperation as a driver for innovation, as a catalyst to induce positive effects or to leverage effects of business activities for the benefit of the poor in developing countries. Second, to increase the awareness of Austrian companies of their role in global development processes and to get companies engaged. And third, we provide companies with know-how to better perform in socioeconomic terms in developing countries. And we consult Austrian companies on their activities at the interface with the society in developing countries. When we succeed to move things here and there, it is also thanks to our excellent corporate partners and to the close cooperation with the Austrian Development Agency, the Chamber of Commerce, and also the Ministry for Economy. I'm proud and grateful that all these partners, Austrian Development Agency, Ministry for Economy, Chamber of Commerce, are long-standing partners of our platform. Okay, the web multilog series, doing business in Africa, which we start with this very webinar now, is deemed to offer tangible insights into relevant success factors and discuss how entrepreneurs can react and adapt to specific challenges and demands on this continent. We're aware that the coronavirus keeps companies pretty much in check and forces them to look very closely at what is immediate. Anyhow, it is also not good to think only of the virus and keep our horizon wide open. If the seminar can contribute to this, it's already something. We organize this series together with Hans Stoisser. If there is someone who can be called an Africa expert here in Austria, it is him, founder of EcoTech and of the platform NextAfrica. He lived many years in Mozambique, Cape Verde, and other countries in Africa, and is today very much engaged in plentiful ways as a consultant, speaker, and author. Now this is a book. I hope you can see it. It's the Schwarze Tiger, the Black Tiger. What we can learn from Africa. I think it helps to get familiarized with his way of thinking and with Africa. Hans, thank you very much for this cooperation. You will start with an input and then lead through the seminar. I hope you will show up now. Once again, please excuse our technical startup difficulties. All of you have an interesting session. Hans, the floor, the stage, the screen, how do you say now? The web is yours.
Thank you very much, Bernhard. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bernhard, for giving me the web even. Thank you so much. Yes, we are in an unprecedented situation in the moment. A gigantic amount of activities, processes, and communication is going to be digitized and moving to the web. So do we. It's our first webinar, actually. This time we will broadcast directly from Kigali and Nairobi. And what we think now is that we could have done it earlier, already before this corona crisis. But, and this is what you see, the positive thing out of this crisis, we have to overcome our complacency. We have to move out of our comfort zones, and so we try new things. So, and maybe at the beginning, I will guide you through this 1.5 hours. A technical introduction. On your right side of the screen, you see 4 columns. One is chat. This column is for chatting for communicating of participants with each other. Then you have a second column, questions. Here you can put questions. And the fourth one is people. Yes, we want to be transparent. You see who is in the screen. Now it's 55 people joining. As Bernhard said, we have 106 registrants, so we are quite happy. We are overwhelmed actually by this demand. And maybe let's go now to Paul and look where is our participants, where you are coming from. And I will activate this poll. I hope it works. It's already here. So, and please give us a couple of seconds that you choose which country you're logging in from. Actually, this webinar was designed to do for Europeans, for the European world, to show and to connect them to the African countries. But we are quite happy that also some people from other African countries are joining, although this is still on 0. From Kenya, Rwanda, 3 people. From Austria, the majority is from Austria and other European countries, which is probably Germany. Okay, so 70% are from Austria. So we are in the middle of the corona crisis. Oh, sorry, this was the wrong. I'm going to the, so I ask now the regie, we have in the backstage, there's Imke and Christoph, thank you very much. Please, can you get into the slides? Yes. We are in the middle of the virus, of the corona crisis. We don't know how it will develop yet. We experience in the moment a real economy freeze. The real economy is frozen, so to say, a truly unprecedented situation. There will be impacts on the African-European relationships, of course, and on the African countries. We do not know yet. Let me, at this stage, only say or quote this Dr. John Kengazong. He is the director from the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And he says that this virus is for African countries now. At the beginning, it's not at the first place in health crisis, it's a security and economic crisis at the first place, or it will become one. as economic downturn, dissatisfaction with governments, there will be some upheavals and a quite ambivalent security situation. And of course, as African countries have become part of the interconnected world economy, they are very hard hit by this crisis, by this economic freezing. And as we know, poorer countries do not have that much of reserves, that many reserves that richer countries do. But today we are looking at the bigger picture, at the long run, specifically on startups. And looking at Africa, there's the story of Africa Rising. You have heard of that. The GDP, the economic output of African country has in the last 15 years, you can say, more than doubled in real terms. And the GDP per capita has almost increased by 50%. Poverty is in retreat. Almost 2/3 of African people had been in absolute poverty some 20, 30 years ago. Now it's 1/3. And behind this African rising is something which we can call the digital transformation. And behind the digital transformation is something like disruptive innovations. For example, mobile money, you have heard of that. And the late Clayton Christensen had said disruptive innovations always start at the lower end of the market. Mobile money has given access to hundreds of millions of poorer people from the countryside and African country, and has then grown to a much more sophisticated product. This is the example of mobile money. In Africa, we have to say these innovations are not hindered by old technologies, or not that much hindered, or by vested interests. So in African countries, we can see a digital transformation much closer to human need in a much more entrepreneurial society. As one of the management thinkers, Ofoso Oyomo from Nigeria, US, living now in the US, says, innovations are the thing how societies can entrepreneur itself out of bad leadership. Startups are at the core of this. How many startups are in African countries? We do not know, but we have an indicator. And according to this study, 618 tech hubs have been counted in African countries last year. This is from last year. It has been up 40%. A year earlier, it was only 440 or something like that. Most of those startups are in Nigeria, 85 you can see, in South Africa 80, but also in Kenya, Egypt, and many other countries. Another indicator is how much money has been invested into African startup. Last year, it had been $2 billion. 2 billion, is this a lot? I don't know, maybe it's a lot. We can compare when you look at remittances, the money which foreign Africans, the diaspora, is paying back to their home countries. It was $46 million. $46 billion, of course, $46 billion, which went back to African countries in 1 year, only to sub-Saharan Africa. So 2 billion is a relatively maybe small number, but nevertheless, African startups are at the core of innovations. Which areas they have been invested to? Most of those money went into fintechs. You can see that 41% fintech, mobile money, and connected things. Into off-grid solar systems. Off-grid has become quite a highly innovative new sector. Off-grid tech means solar power provided by companies. More than 1 million, only Eastern African poorer households have gotten electric power by solar energy out of this. And then, of course, there's health tech, education tech, insurance tech, and so on. Yes, and where does the money go to? Very quickly, the majority goes into 4 countries: Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt, and South Africa. There we have the big dynamics in the startups movement, we can say. And on the 5th place, actually, is already Rwanda, you can see, a small country in Africa. Rwanda is important, and now I introduce very briefly Kenya and Rwanda to you. The 2 speakers are coming from there. Kenya, East Africa, 50 million people, an average income of $3,500 per year. I already talked about mobile money, an upcoming middle class or an increasing middle class in a very dynamic city of Nairobi, a multi-party system. Silicon Savannah is describing what startups are daring there, or it's the headline for that. Then we have Rwanda compared to Kenya, quite different. Small country, 12 million people, 2,300 is the average income dollars per year. A country autocratically governed, as we would say, but with a clear development vision, famous for having no corruption and many women in power. And at this point now, well, let's just first have a look still at the program. We are at the end of point 2. You can see that introduction by myself. And now I will ask Lionel and Lillian on stage. Lionel Mpfizi from Rwanda and Lillian Marenya from Kenya.
Good morning, Hans.
Good morning, Lionel. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you. How is Rwanda? How is Kigali?
Everything doing great in Kigali. We had quite an interesting weather this morning with some rainfall in the morning, but everything else seems good. Hello, Lillian.
You?
A shot, you call it lockdown in Kigali, is it?
Yes, we are currently in lockdown. We are in 2nd week, so movement is very limited. Everyone is working from home except the essential services, which are pharmacies, hospitals, supermarkets, and the markets. But then everything else, everybody's asked to stay home and work from home, try to limit as much movement as possible. However, related to the coronavirus, we're still at cases are still low. I believe we only just have 75 confirmed cases, and some of the first cases we have already, some people have started recovering. So we are very optimistic.
Thank you very much. Yeah, quite a synchronized crisis we are in, a globally synchronized crisis. Hello, Lillian, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yes.
How is Nairobi?
Nairobi is fine. We are, I think, just like Rwanda, not in a full shutdown, more of a sort of half shutdown. Mostly from 7. I think there's no movement between 7 and 6 a.m. Per se, but they're really encouraging people to work from home or self-isolate. I think our numbers are also moving. I didn't see the latest update. I think we're also moving towards 100 or so, and we've had 1 fatality and a few guys are recovering. And then we do have a large number of people who got into the country a few weeks ago who are in mandatory self-quarantine in hotels or certain places that the government put them up to, and they're paying for that. So that's the situation here.
Okay, thank you very much, Lillian. So we will continue with the first keynote, so to say, a 10 minutes keynote by Lionel. Lionel Mpfizi is the head or the CEO of AwesomityLab. an IT company specialized in mobile app development. It's a 4-year-old company. It became famous when it got the contract from the German company Volkswagen, VW. And all of a sudden, a small group of young and dynamic people were working together with the global giant, with the giant corporation, sort of agility versus bureaucracy. Lionel, please, could you give us your keynote? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hans. And hi, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar. Maybe let me just start by a brief introduction of myself, even though Hans did quite a very good job. My name is Lillian Mpfizi. I'm the co-founder and CEO of AwesomityLab. I am a 23-year-old Rwandan entrepreneur, born and raised, and my background is in software engineering. I started my first company when I was just 17. And obviously, as most first companies do, it failed. However, this led me to a path to meet with my now co-founders, who together we started Awesomity, and we are turning 5 years old today. So what is Awesomity? Awesomity is a software development company. We specialize in mobile applications, and our company really focuses on user-centered design to create the greatest possible impact for our clients. And at the core, we are a team of designers, engineers, and creatives who just came together, and we had the same mission. We wanted to create world-class software solutions for clients both locally and internationally, but from the heart of Africa. There is our team, all young faces, but with big vision and big things we've done so far. And a few key facts maybe before we get into the main topic for today. We are established in Rwanda, a beautiful country in the heart of Africa. We are just 5 years old to date. Our team is made up of all young and talented people. The oldest person on the team is actually 26 years old. And we started from just 4 members 5 years ago, and now we have grown to 14 full-time employees, and we're currently running an internship program for 6 junior developers. And then lastly, we are young. However, we have started making our mark in the local ecosystem. We are one of the holders of the only 3 Rwanda Tech Seals, which is a certification of best practices in programming. And we're also one of the recipients of the RDB Excellence Awards of 2019. And so now you might ask yourself how a young company like ours gets to work with a giant like Volkswagen. And I really cannot stress this enough, that this is mainly because of the uniqueness of Rwanda. Rwanda has, we are a country with quite a tragic past. However, from the last 26 years, we have seen a very big curve in the development and in the structure of the country. The country puts a lot of focus in development, in startups, in innovation, and in empowering young people to create businesses, and puts in a lot of efforts for those businesses to be successful. Now, a few years ago, 3 years ago, I believe, when Volkswagen made an interest in creating an assembly plant in Rwanda, it also made the announcement that it would be launching a first service for Volkswagen for e-mobility, which is basically ride-hailing solutions and hiring solutions via mobile phones and using technology. And with that said, when Volkswagen came into the country, the Rwanda Development Board, which is a government board in charge of investment and development of the country, got in touch with Volkswagen and then arranged a couple of workshops so that Volkswagen can meet with the local talent that was already existing in the country. This was the chance for Volkswagen to meet with existing companies and young companies like ours, in which they could see if there was a possibility to have a local partnership. And that is how we got to meet with the team. And through quite a long and with a lot of assistance from various partners, we got through the tender process, and then we were awarded the contract of creating basically the technology behind the mobility solutions. So our role with Volkswagen was to create from the ground up all the technology to be used, including all the mobile applications the process of basically how does somebody request a ride, how should drivers interact with people, and like we work with the team to design all of these processes, and then we want them to develop the actual technology to be used. After the development of the technology, we went into quite a long process of beta testing, where in the first couple of months of 2019, we had some beta users use the application, get feedback, redesign the application, put in a lot of local concepts like localizing the app to be used in Kinyarwanda, because we realized that most people felt actually comfortable using it, especially the drivers, who at times had little education background, so it was helpful for them to use the application in language they were more familiar with. And after a bunch of adjustments, we are now at a version, so the solution is called Move, by the way. We are now at a version where, to date, Move has completed about 160,000 rides in Kigali alone, and we are up to 42,000 users using the application, and we continue seeing a rise in usage each month, as we also keep on improving the technology. We're currently at about 17,000 to 18,000 rides each month in Kigali alone, and Move is currently the biggest made in Rwanda application to date. So that is, in brief, basically how our young company got to meet with the giant, work, and then create something unique which hadn't been done anywhere else, at least in the Volkswagen group. And that is it from me.
So thank you very much, Lionel. Please stay on the stage. I'm missing now Lionel. Oh, he's still here. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the experiences you as a Rwandan young agile company had with this big European company, Volkswagen. Do you think the business model of Volkswagen is working in Rwanda?
Yes, I believe it is working in Rwanda because this was not a business model that was imported from anywhere else. This is truly something that was created for Rwanda. We had to go to the drawing board to see, first of all, who should you hire to have a successful company here? And then that is where Volkswagen went with a fully local staff as well as a local partner to develop the technology for them, even though I believe Volkswagen had the full capabilities of developing this in-house. However, to ensure the success, they really had to get the local context, and that is why they also chose to go with a local partner. And then we also had to look at who are we trying to approach. We're creating technology, mobility solutions, right-hand solutions are available everywhere in the world. It's not working exactly the same everywhere in the world. So in Rwanda, we also had to design something which we know the average Rwandan would be able to use, which we know would run on the average Rwandan's smartphone and would try to cope with basically what we are used to. So I would say yes, it's successful today, and we are now seeing more and more people interested in having the same thing also in Rwanda.
So I do see one question in here from our audience. Martin Engelberg is asking to get more specific on the app, on the mobility app you have been working on with Volkswagen.
Right, yeah. So as I mentioned a bit before, the app is called Move. It's called Move Ride, and what it is basically it's an Uber type application where a person creates a basic account with their personal information. From the app, they can see cars or Volkswagen cars which are near them. The service is only available for Volkswagen cars, and we offer three model of cars. There's the Polos, there's the Passats, and the Terramons. Now, I need to emphasize on this that all the Polos which are used in the application are made in Rwanda. So these are cars which are assembled in Rwanda. And then once the person chooses the destination where they want to go, they're going to receive a price estimate in Rwandan francs, and they can request for that ride. The driver will then come and pick them up and then drive them to where they want to go. And then payment is done either by mobile money, which is a very famous payment method here, or they can pay with cash or pay with card.
Thank you very much. So it's a mobility, Uber-like mobility app. And maybe one more question to Lionel from my side. Looking at Rwanda, it's sometimes called the proof of concept country. Like Volkswagen goes there, small country, 12 million inhabitants, like Austria, a bit bigger, yeah. a big company goes there, tries a certain business model out, tests and learns and tests and learns, and then goes on. Can you bring maybe other examples of foreign companies which did that in Rwanda?
Yeah, most definitely. One of the ones I personally like is Zipline. Zipline is an American company with its origin in America. However, when they came to Rwanda, they created a whole new business model, which they're now replicating in other countries, where Zipline in Rwanda is doing blood delivery. So it is the first service, I believe, in the world to do a blood delivery, where they have a blood bank and then they do delivery to hospitals in rural areas, where usually it would be difficult to deliver blood to using road or the existing infrastructure. So Zipline uses drones and then basically drops packages with parachutes with blood and medicine to these hospitals in rural areas. And we do have also some other examples like Babil, which is a UK-based company. Originally, the original name is Babylon Health. However, when they came to Rwanda, they rebranded, localized, and then have a fully Rwandan service running called Babil with a couple of dozen of users. And then, so this is a model where big companies come in Rwanda, and based on the local context and based on the locality of Rwanda, change or create a new business model to work over here. And then something else we're seeing as a rise is, instead of big companies coming to Rwanda, is entrepreneurs. Now, an example I would give is Apasant Solar. Apasant Solar is an electric motorcycle company, which has its team of co-founders are from the United States. However, the company is established in Rwanda. So this is also a new model we're seeing, where entrepreneurs are coming from all parts of the world, coming to Rwanda, learning the market, and then creating opportunities while working with the local talent.
Sorry, thank you very much. This gives quite a good picture. Rwanda, the proof of concept country. I'm seeing now that more and more questions are coming in. Lionel will stay with us, although he will go from stage, and I'm asking now Lillian to come on stage. So we go then into a Q&A session after the second presentation, which will be done by Lillian. Lillian, I don't see you yet. Lillian actually is the head of Catalytic Support. We can ask her what it is. The head of Catalytic Support of GrowthAfrica, which is a leading acceleration and growth partner for African entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs which are scaling into successful business. GrowthAfrica does business acceleration, strategic advice, and access to investments. GrowthAfrica has helped up to now to create 30,000 jobs and has facilitated over $60 million of investments. GrowthAfrica is based in Kenya, or the headquarters in Nairobi, Kenya, but also working in Ethiopia, Uganda, Ghana, Zambia, and Malawi. Lillian, please go ahead with your presentation to this audience, connecting to the target.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for the invite into this webinar, where we're looking at, how do we bridge the gap between European companies and Africa, just to see how we can really leverage on the great resources that this continent offers and the huge market that we have. So it's a pleasure to be here. As he has done introductions, my name is Lillian Marenya. I'm the head of Catalytic Support for GrowthAfrica. GrowthAfrica is a business accelerator organization where we really work with entrepreneurs who are hungry, who are geared to grow, to really help them scale up their businesses and have really clear growth models that they can then utilize to grow. We've been here since 2002. We're headquartered in Kenya, as he has said. But we have a Pan-African footprint. We have offices in Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Zambia, Malawi, and Ghana. And of course, once you're in Ghana, then you need to step next door, which is Nigeria. So that's in our plans. We're also looking to expand our reach in Southern Africa, and we're also in conversations with Northern Africa. So the real goal of Growth Africa is to really straddle Africa and work with entrepreneurs and really build amazing African stories anchored in Africa, but with a global outreach. So in the same, then we focus on really ambitious, scalable ventures. And we want to see how they can create quality jobs, but really make a proper, sustainable impact economically in the environments that they operate in. So far, we've worked with over 2,000 entrepreneurs and businesses. And since 2012, where we had a little bit of fine-tuning of our model, we have since worked with 200 African ventures and been able to accelerate them. So exactly how does the accelerator work? Is that we work with a limited number of entrepreneurs every year. We aim for 15 in every country per year. So we have a cohort-based approach. What then we do is try to analyze the 360 outlook of the business and really understand what are the strengths and what are the kinks. And it is these kinks where we identify the gaps and we're able to put in real bespoke support to really bridge those gaps that will then enable us to help the entrepreneurs, be able to demonstrate growth. And this growth then comes in various ways. You can measure it depending on what it is we want. So we have experienced facilitators. We, as Growth Africa, designed our own proprietary process and learning methodology. And this comes from the fact that our founders have started they've started businesses, which some they managed to sell, some either failed, some are in progress. The whole idea was our methodology comes from actual experience in running various businesses. So then we have a bespoke company support. This means that we have the 15 entrepreneurs per year in every country are connected with what we call growth catalysts. Just as the name says, we catalyze their thinking, we catalyze their analysis, we catalyze their growth by working together with them to make sure that the gaps that were identified are then bridged. And hence my title, where as the head of growth, the head of Catalytic Support, I do manage the team that works one-on-one with the entrepreneurs on a day-to-day basis. In relation to, of course, when you identify gaps, there could be need for investment in various forms. Some could be, monetary. Some could be the need of new partners or new markets or new access to anything. Whatever it is, then we're able to identify and work with that. We currently have a pool of investors who come to us because we develop the pipeline for them. And because we work with such an eclectic mix of entrepreneurs, we really have a wide range of entrepreneurs and knowledge around the African market that then a lot of investors tap into. Apart from that, then we are creating a Pan-African movement. Then we do try to make sure that we create a fellowship and an access to quality peers across Africa, both from peer-to-peer support of the entrepreneurs themselves, but also mentorship where from across Africa and actually across the globe. What's most critical, again, is every business needs to understand its books and its how the finance runs around their business. So we do offer financial modeling once we understand the full growth plan so that the entrepreneurs have a full awareness of exactly what their business is like and how all these factors come into play. And now we can see with the COVID crisis, we really, this is coming in handy. What's the other thing is entrepreneurship is about leadership. Somebody could have a great idea, but if they do not know how to rally their team around the vision that they have, then venture is as good as dead. So one of the other things we do look at is how do we help the entrepreneurs become better leaders in their personal capacity, but also be able to pass that on to their staff. I think I'll just skip this. I think the most important thing here is that, of course, and the question would, how do you support yourself? we've been fortunate to have a lot of development partners who believe in the vision of which we're trying to create. And they've worked with us, and these are not limited. These are just some of the funders that we currently have and some of the past funders. And you can see foundations, you can see USAID coming in, and all these different organizations across the world who are really keen on the African story, and we're really grateful for that. So far, I think results to date in a quick number is that we've managed to do 21 cohorts. We've impacted about 850,000. We have currently in 6 countries, as you can see. We've raised 60,000 plus million USD, and this is in various mix, either from equity or debt or a mix of both, or grants. Whatever it is, any financial help that entrepreneurs did, we were there, we've been there, and we continue to do so to help them get. So far, we have an 84% success rate. This is once we've done the program or the intervention, then the entrepreneurs do report back that they're able to see progress in whatever area that they look for. So one of the 3 key things that we really look for is either they triple their revenue, double their profits, or enter new markets and they're able to show that success. We are very big on jobs, and this is quality jobs, not just any other sort. We're looking for quality jobs where people can earn more than the minimum wage. They're able to get into the taxation system of the country, and they're able to go from there. Yes, so that we are really big on the job creation. So now back to why Africa, and a lot of you guys are listening from out there. There's been a lot of companies that do come into Africa. Some succeed, some don't succeed, and all these are various reasons we can actually look at them. But one of the few things that anybody looking to come into Africa really needs to think about are one size does not fit all. Africa could be one continent, almost the same people, but we're completely different. So you might find that what might work in Western Africa might not work in Eastern Africa. And even within Western Africa, what might work in Nigeria might not work in Ghana or Senegal. So what I'm advocating is that we really need to have a consistent analysis of the different markets and really understand what we like to call in GrowthAfrica product market fit. The second thing you need to think about is the relationships that are currently going on, either from the emerging and reformed institutions. For instance, we have, like now, I think everybody's looking at Africa when the international community announces, what are they called? COVID-19 support measures. Everybody's looking, why isn't Kenya announcing the same? Or why isn't Nigeria doing the same? It's because we are still a little bit different on what is there. So as you come in, an understanding of the laws here or in Africa is really critical to make sure that we the new businesses are coming up versus the old one. What's the interchange there, and what can you do to make sure that it doesn't affect your entry into the market or sustainability. Of course, there's the local culture and there's the global culture. As GrowthAfrica, as we're looking to make sure our African businesses can operate on a global perspective, there'll be those nuances in the local culture that are critical for you, for businesses coming in, to be able to either adapt into that and build it within the strategy. Africa, again, very eclectic, very different, lots of moving parts. So as a business, your strategy must be very mobile. You must be able to apply it in different sectors just to see how it's going to flow. And most critical is there needs to be a trust relationship with your various stakeholders. This would be either your staff members, the clients that you want to serve, the people that you want to work with or work for, and all that. And of course, Africa has got a lot of problems, but in problems, there's huge opportunities. So if your business is coming into Africa, what are you looking at? What are the opportunities you've seen? And therefore, how do you bring in, again, your strategy to fit the thing? Critical things, I think there are 4 or 5, is first of all, you must have a very deep understanding of the market. What are your demographics? We have a huge youth population. People are saying maybe that's why we don't have a lot of COVID deaths, but we'll see when the curve goes through. We are very young, so you find that is a very big factor. And because of this, then we are very mobile, phone heavy and very app heavy. And any business coming in then needs to think about that. Number 2, preferences. How do we make buying decisions? What do we use to do that? So there's been talk of online, mobile, online deliveries or services, which we were really picking it up. But I think with the COVID crisis, it's really gone a notch higher. So I see everybody or anybody who is in the online market space would really benefit from this and be able to unfortunately take advantage of this and grow their businesses. We've seen a few of the Kenyan startups who are already in this space who've reported a massive jump in their revenue so far. Understanding of your competitive language. Why are you coming into the market? Who else is there? What are they doing? What have they done? And what have they not done? So that when you come in, you're not doing things as it was, and you're really much more innovative to get into that mix. Use of technology. We agree Africa is really growing. I think with the undersea cables, the other day Google got, I think, the license to deploy the balloons. It means technology is everywhere in Africa, in most places. Accessibility might not be through the conventional laptops, but then the mobile phone remains very critical. So what are the things that then you need to do in terms of communicating or doing your work is really you have to localize your content, look at the mobile utilization. There'll be things like voice search, which then you might need to think about the local predominant language that you want to communicate with. Keep infrastructure in mind. Since bandwidth is a bit low in certain areas, you must make sure that your mobile, your videos or communication messages are easy and quick and easy to stream. We are big on social media here. Maybe we haven't fully understood how to utilize it to our benefit. I think you've seen the Kenyans on Twitter or Africans on Twitter, each of these countries, but it's becoming a tool where things get moving or policies are being changed. So it's a very, very, very powerful tool. If harnessed very well, it would be amazing. If not, it can really bring down brands. And we see a lot of rethinking around organizations who are engaging on the social media. So it's very critical that you understand that. What is Africa's biggest asset? The youth and the total number of workmanship or the workman horse that we have, which means then you have great people in Africa who can help build your businesses. But in that also then we understand the few things that are there, what are the values that are here, completely different. You might find how you handle HR in Africa will be completely different on how you'd handle it elsewhere in the world. We are very people-centered, very communal still. So you find a lot of communal working. And I think one of the biggest exposures of COVID is we are having more stress levels, I think, because people are working from home. Maybe you live alone, you're not in that usual meeting with people to talk, and it's really beginning to create a big toll. And we were discussing in the organization is one of the things we're looking at is mental illness or mental health, right? That this would come out because Africa, we're not very used to this, but also we don't talk a lot, and we do know that then this is a problem. So yeah, you have to look at the values and the codes. Some things might either resonate or offend. So it's very critical that you have a local person who helps you navigate through that. Imagery, colors, of course, different. Word choices, we have to be very careful now. We are in this really sensitive times that people need to think about utilizing their words properly. Disruptive innovation. I think what has been there, you have to come into the market with something innovative. something different from what people are used to, something that really solves a problem. So here is where you also have to put in your heart of innovation, of disruption, you know, what is the new thing you can do, and how does that then fit into the African context. So it's very, very critical that you have an innovative mind. Key tips. Depending on your products, you have to reach the masses. The masses then bring in their turnover. The turnover then brings you the revenues. How do you do that? So you have either, you know, innovate around the offerings, tailored for individual markets. As I said, something that works in Kenya might not work in South Africa or might not work in Nigeria for very little different critical reasons. Invest. What we see a lot of people coming to Africa mostly and stick around the capitals and not go into more rural peri-urban areas. Why? Maybe they fear or whatever, but one of the things, especially if you're in a mass market product, you really have to think about distribution. It's expensive, but it's something that you need to budget on and really grow that, because that's the only way your product would move beyond the cities. In Nairobi, in Kenya, we say Nairobi is almost like, during the day, the population rises, and I think by night it goes down by almost 50% because people go to the peri-urban areas that's where they live. So if your product is only centered in Nairobi, you might not realize the numbers that you wanted. So it's critical that you really think about distribution and find innovative, cost-effective ways to build that. Of course, build strong brands and be flexible to adapt to rapid change. Things change here very quick. Play to win, pick your fights well, collaborate more, networks, leverage on people you know who've done that, so that people are able to really understand and infuse you into their local market. So don't come and be aloof. Come in and, you know, merge, lack of a better word. Be local. Don't just come in alone. Look for a local potential partner or co-investor, because then you have vested interest in that, and they'll make sure that the business then succeeds. So it's critical that we leverage on each other, and this is where also GrowthAfrica comes in. We have our advisory wing, which really deals with market entry into Africa, different projects, different proposals, the people who are looking to set up in Africa or run certain project that we're able to work with you on the same and really guide you through your entry into Africa. So for us, as GrowthAfrica, we are very keen to provide linkages for our entrepreneurs in Africa with the rest of the world. And so what we say to all Austrian businesses, German businesses coming in, our doors are open. Would love to have a conversation with you and just see how it is that we can help make your entry into Africa much smoother. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lillian, for that overview and great presentation. Thank you so much. So what you basically say is it's four things foreign companies would need. It's local knowledge, technology, great people, and disruptive innovations to succeed. And we have actually one question here from the audience from Ferdinand Kovacic. Ferdinand, this was very much voted upwards. Yes, you can vote on the questions, then they go up. What is it actually? So this is a question for the African perspective, the Kenyan perspective in this case. What is it that corporates can or should bring to the table? And what is it you could learn from corporates, you Africans, Kenyans in this case? So what is it what corporates should bring on the table going to Kenya, for example?
To do is, number one, come in to Africa and offer quality products and therefore, of course, quality jobs. There's this tendency to come into Africa and assume because the cost standard of living is assumed to be lower, that then the HR component is definitely reduced in terms of their salaries or whatever might be the same. So it's critical that it's such a flat it's such a flat world now with the internet. Information is all over the world. So the more you're seen as being open and transparent in the various locations that you work with, the better. So I think when corporates come in, they should offer quality services or products and be able to work with the continent and do good ethical business.
Okay, thank you. And as I'm looking at the questions, yes, we will provide a download for the link. Actually, all of the participants who registered will get an email with a link to the presentations. You will get them, and you will also get a link with the feedback then. But I will tell you again afterwards. So may I ask Lionel again on stage? Then it's the three of us here. Because there had been many questions to Lionel. Hello, Lionel. It's nice.
Yes, I am here.
You join us from Kigali now on the same stage. It's a new experience. We are in. So this is a question which came up regularly. What kind of cultural differences in terms of mentality, communication style, etc., have you observed when working with VW, with Volkswagen? This was from Anna Zelno, a question.
So this I would say is going to be unique to Rwanda. I wouldn't know if this would be the same cultural differences, for example, companies in Kenya or individuals in Kenya would have. But some of the key things you identify or were quite big to us was communication, basically. Rwandans are not introverted people. However, we do not communicate that much. Basically, like when there's an exchange. So some of the first things we had to deal with was to basically express ourselves during workshops and during meetings, and then to know that our voice was to be heard. Usually what happens a lot of times is whenever a young company, especially in Rwanda, are dealing with big businesses, international come from other countries, is they're going to feel like whatever that person is saying is right, and then they just won't object if they have a different idea or if they have a different thought to it. And this is quite honest that the very first workshop we had with the Volkswagen team, we spent 15 minutes with them basically trying to ice break and then trying to get to a same plane so that both of us can communicate and everyone can express each other's ideas without having to think that if they've said it, it's right. They really wanted to listen from us. They knew that we had the local concept of how things should work, and they tried as much as possible to get us to basically start expressing ourselves. So I would say this was one of the biggest cultural differences when it comes to working with Volkswagen, which was the communication, basically reaching the level where we're comfortable enough to start expressing our ideas as comfortably as we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much on this cultural question. There is from Camillus Conque. It's more a statement than a question. I think the challenge, and this is related to that, the challenge in Europe-Africa business relations is the absence of bridging tools. Lillian, what would you think about that? Do you think there should be more tools? I think he's talking now about ICT tools, or he's thinking on that, to bridge between. Is it that? Is it a technical problem to bridge the divide between Europe and Africa?
Of course, because we're living in the information age, then the digital divide becomes a big thing. But what I think that needs to be done more is we need to see more of the trade-facing aspects of embassies really more out there, and engaging with in the local context. So apart from it just becoming like a trade visit, how does this relationship be nurtured over a long period of time, so that it's much more insightful than that quick, trade visit. So I think the what do you call them? The trade attaches or whatever really needs to be more active, proactive out there, messaging, getting themselves known out there, and really working with organizations such as GrowthAfrica to really provide that linkage of technology transfer or just linking businesses together. Because we do have a huge and robust system or entrepreneurship system in Africa with various accelerators and hubs. We have data bases of entrepreneurs who are just waiting to go, and they would definitely benefit from such linkages or interactions. So I didn't know, I do know that we have like the Austrian trade attaché, the German business community. How do we make it more working behind the scenes as opposed to, would I say, conferences or trade visits and missions? Really make it concrete, where we actually do work together and make sure that the relationship progresses into actual businesses being set up in Africa or being propagated from Africa, lack of a better word.
Thank you. Working behind the scenes, you're talking about trade attaché. At this point, actually, I want to bring in on stage Martin Engelberg, who is member of the Austrian Parliament, and he's, so to say, the Africa speaker of the party which is in government in the moment in Austria. And with him, maybe he could say a few words on exactly that, what you mentioned now, behind the scene African-European policies. I don't know if it's possible to get him on stage right now. Okay, not that quickly. But we can go to the next question, which was to Lillian again. In terms, from Anna Zelno, in terms of building relationship and gaining trust in Kenya and in the region, in the Eastern African region in general, how can people from Europe adapt to doing business there? Lillian.
How can people adapt?
To do business in your region. How can people, Europeans in this case, adapt to business?
Okay. I think one of the most critical things is flexibility. And the other one is the bravery to throw away your business plan and redo a new one. Based again on the fast changing African landscape, right? So you have to be able to come in and understand what the market really needs and adapt your product or offering to fit that. So adaptability, versatility, and the ability to think outside the box will be so critical. And be ready to be challenged, because as we've said, we have a huge youth bulge who are very intelligent, who are taking to technology like fish to water. So there'll be a lot of challenging, expect that.
Okay. Thank you. A question which just came in from Walter Stepanek. You, Lillian, again. You said incoming international companies should engage in ethical business. Assuming you meant commercially ethical business, a stupid question, Walter said to his question. Is that indeed a competitive asset? Is it a competitive asset to engage in ethical business conduct?
So we are really up there in terms of understanding, what's going on in the world. But because we have a huge, again, youth population, they are savvy. They absorb information like sponge. So it's very, very critical that whatever you do in your home country needs to be done here. We also have a reawakening of the African spirit, you know, and saying, no, we deserve better. So you get, there's also this critical reawakening in the African continent that, no, if this is not acceptable elsewhere, why is it acceptable here? And we've had cases here where, and it's normally a question, though this is more of a government policy perspective, where, for instance, maybe we'll use Volkswagen, because I think them being in Rwanda is important. You might find that the cars, maybe one portion of the car or model has a problem, and there's a worldwide recall, right? And they rarely do they have the same recall in Africa. Maybe with the exception of South Africa and Egypt, I'm not so sure. So then questions become, why would I buy a Volkswagen if they don't bother to recall in Africa? Because the information is out there. People are really knowledgeable. So it's critical. Yeah, commercially, ethics is important, and it's a competitive asset that will definitely do you good in the long run.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that answer. Actually, as you know, audience, ladies and gentlemen, we are all in home office. Yeah? So, and I just got the message, is not ready to go on stage in the moment. So I'm asking now a different company on stage, Anja Schlösser from Code of Africa, which is a small startup in the field of IT services. Anja Schlösser is German, and she's based in Rwanda in the moment, in Kigali. Maybe you can tell us about your business model. I don't know if that goes that quickly that she comes on stage. Okay, also not that quickly. So the from one home office to the other home office, it's not so easy to bring in people here. There had been many questions actually to Lionel in terms of his unique experience at startup in Rwanda, a small company working with Volkswagen. Actually, Lionel has already responded some question. You can see it in the question column. But maybe you can bring in one of the questions here. What was it actually that convinced Volkswagen to work with you, AwesomityLab? What was your USP, Lionel?
Thank you, Hans. So, like one really big unique selling point we had in advantage to anyone else who was bidding for the same contract at the time where Volkswagen wanted to enter the market in Rwanda was our prior experience to working with mobility technology. So a few months prior to Volkswagen making their announcement, we had the chance to develop an almost similar mobility solution for one of the states in Nigeria. And so we had some experience playing around with GPS, with making requests from one device, getting it from another. So, and we had done such a lot of research on the already existing companies like Uber and Taxify and all that, so that at the time when Volkswagen came, we already knew what they were talking about, and we already knew what we can propose to them, which probably other companies still trying to wrap their heads up around. And something else is having a young team gives you an advantage which you really cannot get from any other kind of team, which is the quick response or the immediate reaction to ideas and all that. And I'll demonstrate this in an idea where we had a 3-day workshop with a team from Volkswagen. Basically, the first day was them explaining to us, oh, we want to create this. We want to have people order cars from their phone. And then the next day, the different companies invited had to give ideas of how they think best this should be done. While other companies are suggesting how they think it should be done, on our second of presentation, we literally had some idea of wireframes and mockups. So like, this could run on Android and on iPhone, and then people could use it in this way and that way. So it was quick response, and this is something unique you get with a young team, which is very energetic and which are passionate about the work that they're doing, so that just from one idea we're able just to create so much. And then this really convinced Volkswagen that we were the people they should work with. We have the experience, we have the passion, we have the creativity, and I really believe that those were our unique selling points.
Very good. Yeah, congratulations to that. Is Anja Stoisser around in the audience and can come to stage? If not, I will talk for her. Code of Africa. I have to make a disclosure. I'm very smallly invested in the startup Code of Africa, which is based in Kigali. And it's actually working closely together with AwesomityLab, or it's working together. And Code of Africa is in a different business. It's in the business of providing IT services from Eastern African countries to European countries. And there's already one question here from Annika Alsdorf to Lionel. Actually, it was to Anja, the question, but Anja does not show up here for whatever reason. But Lionel, maybe you can explain that. What distinguishes Code of Africa from AwesomityLab, or more, how does the cooperation work between the two?
That's a really good question, Annika. Code of Africa is, we would consider Code of Africa as a bridge between European companies who are seeking IT services in Austria, Germany, and local IT talent in Rwanda and Kenya. And whereas what Awesomity is, it's a development house. So we have the developers, we create solutions, we work with clients and so on. So the collaboration we have with Code of Africa is they usually are going to connect us with some clients in Europe, in those regions I mentioned about, who are seeking for IT services, and then we can have some members of our team either working on a full-time basis or on a part-time basis with these clients for a certain defined period of time. So Code of Africa is really a bridge and a network of talent and developers in Kigali and in Kenya. And Awesomity is just one of the companies they work with locally in Rwanda, to also work with a couple of more development houses as well.
Okay, thank you very much for this clarification. A different business model. Yes, but now the regie, the direction worked very well. I say hello to Jens Jäger. Jens Jäger from ARE, the Alliance for Rural Electrification. It's a lobbying company, or you will explain that, which is working on rural electrification, renewable energy. And it brings in now different types of business models into this context, business models for African, European relationships, business relationships. Jens, may I have some words from your side, please?
Yes, thank you, Hans, and thank you for the kind introduction and opportunity to say a few words here. So indeed, the Alliance for Rural Electrification, also known as ARE, is a global business association. We have about 150 members worldwide, working in the ecosystem of off-grid renewables and primarily in sub-Saharan Africa. And so the aim of ARE is basically to provide clean energy access for all. And the way we do so is by promoting partnerships between especially African and European companies, many of which are startups. We believe that to create impact on the ground, we really need to not just have companies come from outside, but we need partnerships with the local African companies many of which have very strong distribution channels, knowledge of the local communities, and so on. Where the European companies often come in is more in the technology provision or the system integration and so on. So we think in ARE that there is a strong room for partnerships, especially in the off-grid industry. As also shown in one of your opening slides, Hans, I think you showed that off-grid was one of the biggest startup markets. So there's a tremendous opportunity here. And what ARE basically does is we connect the dots. So we organize B2B forums. We help link up African and European companies per email, or we give trainings to companies and so forth. So our principal aim is to achieve SDG 7 on clean energy, and we do so by linking up African, European, also Asian companies, and help them build capacity and access finance and so on. So that's in a nutshell what ARE does. Just a quick word on the business models in this sector. So there has been a tremendous movement also towards digitalization in the off-grid sector. One example is the installation of paid, or the, let's say, inclusion of pay-G models, so pay-as-you-go business models for solar home systems in East Africa. So building on the increased penetration of mobile networks in Kenya and Tanzania, for example, we have seen business models emerge where customers can pay for electricity via their phones. And hence that has helped payment collection for the companies and has helped easier access to services for the consumers. So in a nutshell, that's what ARE does. Happy to answer any questions. We are an, as I said, membership-driven association. So if there are any startups in here or companies that have an interest in this particular space, I'm happy to answer questions or help where we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan, about this off-grid solar systems and an amazing innovation, actually off-grid, not connected to the power grid, but connected to the phone network. That's how the payments work. An amazing, many people are getting value out of that, and many companies are working in that. Lillian or Lionel, who wants to give his or her respective perspective on that?
I could say you might need to repeat because we didn't. Okay, personally, I don't know if Lionel had. I didn't hear anything.
No, I just wanted to hear about this business model of off-grid solar systems. Is there anything you have particularly to say about that? Do you have experiences with that? Of course, there's MCOP, a famous company in Nairobi.
Okay, right. Because Africa, we still are a little bit underserved in the normal grid electricity system, and we have an abundance of solar, of sun, almost maybe 360 days out of the 365. Then the huge market really is there around energy, renewable energy, and of course solar being the easier, quicker way to get electricity into almost every home or school or whatever it might be. So the market is wide open. In Kenya and Africa, there's been this surge around solar provision companies. And because the initial investment in the solar, it's really heavy. And we do know that Africa has a huge population that is living, that is economically challenged. So they might not be able to fork out the entire amount that is needed to have a fully functional solar system. So in that, we've had innovations where we've had companies come in and really look at pay-as-you-use or pay-as-you-go kind of models. where somebody puts a down payment and they then pay for the installation of a period of time. Sometimes either on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, depends on the individual companies. And of course, then this is easier to collect because the installations are normally tied to the mobile phone or the SIM. And some have even gone further to have a way that if you haven't paid for the service that month or that week, you are then disconnected until you pay. One of the companies that has done that very well is called Mkopa Solar. They're one of the companies that we as GrowthAfrica had the pleasure to incubate them when they were starting off very many years ago, and now grown into a household name. And they're leading in the forefront of really connecting families into the solar system. And this is really good because we've seen an uptake of increased time in schools. The kids are able to study longer, so less of the paraffin, less pollution, therefore chest infections that might come with it, and also just the ability to bring entertainment or information right to the homes of people across Kenya and the rest of Africa is an amazing thing. So the field is wide open for solar off-grid systems. We are barely scratching the surface. So everybody who's in that space and would like to step into it, you're most welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. It's one of the energy tech is one of the areas where startups are working in. Lionel, we are coming to an end actually with our webinar. Lionel, maybe some last words from your side?
Just one last thing is, of course, a thank you to you, Hans, and your team for inviting me and giving me some time to share about my company and our experience working with a giant European company. Thank you for that. And also thank you for everybody who asked questions. It was nice engaging and answering all the questions. One last thing I really want to end on is a point Lillian made where she was like, if you're from Europe and coming to start up something in Africa, be ready to throw away your business plan. And I agree with that 100% because there is no way you're going to design a business in Europe and then expect it to work in Africa. You have to be here. You have to work with somebody already in Africa because we are a challenging market that's always evolving. Something you can think of today, in 3 months, it will have changed. So that is my closing remark. But nonetheless, Rwanda is very welcoming to more and more investment from Europe. And there's very many companies also which are very eager to work and partner on certain projects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lionel. I'm really grateful to have had this opportunity to talk to you, to bring you here on stage. Lillian, maybe some last words from your side?
Last words is Africa is open. Africa is waiting for you here. Come in, partner with local entrepreneurs who are doing amazing things and use them to leverage and grow. As we said, things change here so fast. Nothing stays the same. But it's an amazing space to be in. It's growing. Africa, lots of opportunity, lots of resources. Come in, take advantage, and let's grow together. And GrowthAfrica is open to guide you through your entry into Africa through our advisory wing, but also the accelerator wing. We would be able to link you up with different entrepreneurs just to see how you can begin to collaborate. So thank you so much for being here and thank you for inviting me. Thanks for the few questions. My email is on the presentation, so I look forward to engaging more and be able to give more information. So yeah, GrowthAfrica doors are open. Africa is open and ready to do business.
Okay, so thank you very much for this closing word. Thank you. We are coming to an end with our webinar. I'm just getting into maybe the last slide we are having here. No, it's not the last. Sorry, it's actually, sorry for that. That one, yes. So this webinar actually was a cooperation between Corporate and NextAfrica. NextAfrica, this is, we bring together purpose-driven organizations from Europe and Africa to collaborate and co-create. This is where I'm a co-founder from. Actually, our website you can see here. The newsletter, it's on my personal newsletter. You can get on this site, hansstoisser.com. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. It was of value for you. I hope it was a small step in bringing purpose-driven people from Africa and Europe together. And please keep interested, keep connected. We will go on, and Bernhard is now giving his last words. Goodbye from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hans. I think we've all experienced the first corporate webinar as a very compact, dense format with many good interactions and absolutely enriching food for thought and concrete learnings. Thanks to all of you for participating. Special thanks go to Lionel and Lillian for their valuable insights, and of course to Hans for his inputs and excellent moderation. I'm very sorry that I cannot invite you now to a drink and some snacks for further networking, as it is the case after our traditional non-virtual corporate multi-logo events. What I can do to keep in touch is to draw again your attention to the newsletter of Hans and to the one of Corporate, and to invite you already to our next web multi-logo on April 15th. More on the specific topic, and our guest speakers will follow soon. Hope to see you there. We have no room limit, so please feel free to forward our invitation to your friends and colleagues, whoever you think could be interested. And yes, important, we're also looking forward to all kinds of feedback from your side. Please help us to improve on this kind of webinar. That's it. Goodbye and have a good day.